Alright. Let's see if this is gonna work. Trying to 100% it.
What are you doing?
He survived. Your brother. The one you always called Monster. He killed him a week later.
I have...
A half-brother. He's the one that it proves it.
What is...
I know. He's gonna... But he's actually... His dog... He was close to you.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out where I'm at.
Huh. What
This is
the
too
hell
much.
am I doing?
Some cop guy is coming? Okay, we'll tell him
Do we already
the
call
truth.
Bumblebee?
He'll listen, right?
Sorry, I can't talk
He
right
has
now.
to.
Leave a message or just text me.
Well,
Your half-brother? He's the killer. How do we find him?
I don't know. Nobody ever told me anything about him. I don't even know his name.
let's see. We have 5 more achievements to go.
Okay, what about the nanny?
I was 2 years old. I have no idea. I mean, the cop said he knew my father, right? Maybe he was there back then?
Maybe. Maybe not.
But you... Why'd you lie to me all this time?
I mean, how was I gonna tell you? Hi, nice to meet you. By the way, I killed my father. I didn't want to get close to anyone, but you were so persistent.
Where
I guess
am I gonna get
I just wanted to believe I was who you thought
extra
I was.
information?
But well, guess
Have a
that's
look.
over now, huh?
Now we wait.
Wait for him to arrive.
I had any other family.
Hey, Bumblebee.
I don't know anything about him.
What's up? What?
I
What
don't
do you-
even know what questions to ask.
Honey,
I guess, I
think
mean,
you got prank called.
the good news,
What did they
that's it.
threaten
That's the secret. That's the skeleton.
you? Listen to what?
And now that you know it, I mean, if you'll still have me,
Oh, okay.
You
I'll
can
listen
start
to them, but
fresh.
honey,
clean slate.
yeah, don't worry, Bumblebee. I'll take care of this.
I've
Love you
never,
more.
I've never been able to say that out loud before. So, thank you for listening.
All right,
Is that
open
him?
up.
Yep. It is.
Okay. Oh shit.
Wait, please. Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I didn't kill my father.
What?
He had a love child. Bastard. That's your killer.
You expect me to believe that?
I don't care what you believe. The bastard destroyed everything I loved. Destroyed my mother. She called him the monster, and he was.
What the
Monster.
What?
What?
Oh, it's just... That was the last thing I heard him say. It never occurred to me that it meant... that.
Listen. I know my father was important to you. I miss him too.
But
What?
I always thought
Closed caption.
you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
But then...
I don't know.
Honey,
But it wasn't. Please, let me talk. I don't know. But it wasn't me. Look, I know why you're doing this. I get it.
You couldn't possibly.
You can't make us pay for what your daughter's going through. Don't take it out on us.
I'm sorry. Really, I am.
Alright.
God. If
Oh.
my daughter knew what I was doing, she wouldn't understand. She'd never forgive me. I'm going now.
Wait, just a second.
I don't think I can show him the onesie now. probably not gonna like
Here.
it.
Take the watch. You need it more than I do. She does.
I'll look for your brother. I'll start with the nanny, go from there.
How much do you remember about her?
It's been a long time.
Do you remember her name?
Something flowery. Daphne, Daisy.
Oh, I
something
don't
like
have
that.
it.
I'll dig into it. I'll let you know when I know
Hey,
more.
listen.
No. Listen. My wife, she didn't kill.
Say another word. See what happens.
Uh,
I'll dig into it. I'll let you know when I know more.
Wow. So what happens now? Is it over?
No, it's gonna happen again.
Yep.
I have no fucking idea what it.
let's try something. Dun, dun. Let's try that. See if that's gonna hold up. All right. All right. Well, that's fall. Bag hasn't changed. That hasn't changed.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Turn on the light. Ooh, the white flowers aren't there no more.
Oh, I forgot to call the lamp.
That's different.
Switch. Mind doing that tomorrow?
Let's water the plants. Get the phone. Nope, not going outside. Shut the door. Yeah. I'm gonna call the daughter. Because that's what we should do.
Hello?
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her
I wasn't
father.
expecting
Can you
a
help?
storm tonight.
Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
My wife
Yeah,
is
she's
innocent,
innocent.
but your dad, he won't listen to us.
I don't know what you want.
Hey, well, please, could you just call him and tell him to listen? He doesn't have the whole story.
Okay, fine. I'll call him. But lose my number.
Okay. Oh, gotta water the plant.
I'm stuck in a time loop, and I can prove it.
Right.
Yep. Definitely can.
Look, how your father died. It's not what you think. I know how he really died.
What are you doing? It was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How could you know that?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
I did what?
Listen, he didn't die when you shot him.
What are you doing?
He survived. Your brother, the one you always called Monster. He killed him a week later.
I have a fucking brother?
A half-brother from your father's affair. He's the one who did it. That Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves
Kind of weird
it
how
wasn't
she's
you.
faking that.
What is going on?
I know.
I'm pretty sure she knows.
All right, there's more. Listen,
she has
a
a
man is
brother.
about to ring the doorbell. He's going to accuse you of murder, but he's actually just here for your father's pocket watch.
What?
His daughter has cancer, and a watch will pay for the treatment.
What?
He was close to your father, and when your dad died, it really hit him hard.
Yeah.
This is too much.
Did I? Oh, I took that. No.
Why is this out? You took the present out of my drawer? It was gonna be a surprise. That's why it was wrapped. Though, I guess you already knew what was in there, huh?
Yep.
Just let me have privacy sometimes, okay? Okay, we'll tell him the truth.
Yes. Telling the truth is good.
He'll listen, right? He has to.
Now we wait.
All these years,
Hey,
I
Bumblebee.
thought
What's up?
this is
What?
crazy.
What do you... Honey, I think you got
My
friends.
brother.
What did they threaten you?
So that's fall.
I didn't think I had any other family.
Listen to what?
Still an egg.
I don't know
Oh, okay,
anything
I'll
about him.
listen to him, but honey... Yeah, don't worry, Bumblebee. I'll take care of
I don't even know what questions to ask.
it. Love...
Can I talk to her at least? Nothing new.
you
But you-
more.
Why'd you lie to me all this time?
I mean, how was I gonna tell you? Hi, nice to meet you. By the way, I killed my father.
All right,
Is that
open
him?
up.
Yeah.
Is that him? What do we do? Do we open the door?
Try something else. I'm curious. Nope. That's not it. Ugh. Oh, he already played that. Let's do this then. Okay, that's gonna work. Okay. All right.
We need
Come
to
on.
tell him the truth.
You want to talk?
Okay,
talk.
we'll tell him the truth.
Okay, let's talk.
Oh shit. Wait,
Get on the ground.
please.
please.
I know why you're here. Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I didn't kill my father.
What?
He had a love child. Bastard. That's your killer.
You expect me to believe that?
I don't care what you believe. The bastard destroyed everything I loved. Destroyed my
Kind
mother.
of funny.
She called him the monster, and he was.
We've already told you like 8
Monster.
times.
What?
Oh, it's just... That was the last thing I heard him say. It never occurred to me that it meant... that.
Listen. I know my father was important to you. I miss him too.
But I always thought you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
But then,
I don't know. But it wasn't me. Look, I know why you're doing this. I get it.
you couldn't possibly.
You can't make us pay for what your daughter's going through. Don't take it out on us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Really, I am. God. If my daughter knew what I was doing, she wouldn't understand. She'd never forgive me. I'm going now.
Wait, just a second.
Where do I...
Here. Take the watch. You need it more than I do. She does.
I'll look for your brother. I'll start with the nanny, go from there.
How much do you remember about her?
It's been a long time.
Do you remember her name?
Something flowery. Daphne, Daisy, something like that. I'll dig into it.
Hey,
I'll let
listen.
you know when I... No
Whoa,
more.
whoa! I didn't do anything.
Sure you didn't. Shut up and don't move. I'll deal with you in a minute. I'll dig into it. I'll let you know when I know more.
So what happens now? Is it over?
No.
No.
No, it's gonna happen again. I have no fucking idea.
It's not
what
over.
Oh, I'll be out in a second.
Still fall. Still egg. Need water.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, I forgot to tell the landlord about the light switch. Am I doing that tomorrow?
He's still there. There's 2 flowers. I wonder, do I have to drug her again? It's not moving. Well, this isn't it. Let's put it back.
I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
Hey, I finally remembered to put the spare key outside.
Oh. Let's call up his daughter. Let's get the wrong thing. Maybe that's gonna
Hello?
trigger this.
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
Listen, I'm trapped in a time loop and I can't figure out.
Well, you're done now.
In the next few minutes, a cop is gonna knock on her door.
What are you talking about?
Tell her the cop wants to watch to save his daughter.
Can you? How about you leave the apartment?
Are you kidding? I did all this stuff for us tonight.
He's gonna hurt us. You gotta go.
Just me. You're not gonna come.
I can't. It's complicated.
Hey, if you want a little alone time, you can just say so.
That
The
one.
cop guy says that he was close to your father. He says he was there when he died. This is personal for him.
What are you talking about? My dad had a heart attack, sicko. You know that.
That cop? Yeah, he's after your father's watch.
What are you talking about?
He's gonna sell it to pay for his daughter's cancer treatment.
Pocket watch. Daughter's cancer? Babe, you sound crazy right now.
Will you just humor me? Just go downstairs for like 5 minutes.
Come on, dude. Cut it out.
I am stuck in a time loop, and that is how I know about the cop.
Uh-huh.
Look, how your father died. It's not what you think. I know how he really
Is
died.
not
what are you
what you
doing?
think.
It was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How could you know that?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
I did what?
Listen, he didn't die when you shot him.
What are you doing?
He survived. Your brother, the one you always called Monster. He killed him a week later.
I have a fucking brother?
A half-brother from your father's affair. He's the one who did it. That Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves it wasn't you.
What is going on?
I know. All right, let's go. The cop
If I knew
guy
better, I
told you
wouldn't have
about, he's
reset
coming
the-
for your father's watch.
Like, I
His
was
daughter
pretty
has
much at the
cancer,
end.
and the watch will pay for the treatment.
Jesus.
There's only one thing I was going after.
Now we wait.
Is that him?
Police!
Okay.
I have a warrant for your
Oh,
arrest.
shit.
On the ground.
Wait,
Now.
wait. Stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I didn't kill my father.
Uh-huh.
He had an affair.
Stop talking.
Please, will
Honey,
you just
I-
listen? Please, let me talk. Please, will you just listen to me?
No, I listen to innocent people, not murderers. Now shut up.
Okay.
And we're back.
Yep. That wasn't gonna work. It's not gonna work. Alright, still an egg. Yep. Still fall.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Go in the room. Turn on the light. Don't get electrocuted.
Oh, we gotta clean the closet.
Get the phone. There's something about this that I'm not doing right.
Hello?
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
My
She's
wife is innocent, but your dad, he won't listen to us.
I don't know what you want.
Hey, please, could you just call him and tell him to listen? He doesn't have the whole story.
Okay, fine. I'll call him. But lose my number.
I was not expecting a storm tonight.
Let's see.
I'm stuck in a time loop, and I can prove it.
Yep.
Right.
Look, how your father died. It's not what you think. I know how he really died.
What are you doing? It was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How could you know that?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
I did what?
Listen. He didn't die when you shot him.
What are you doing?
He survived. Your brother, the one you always called Monster. He killed him a week later.
I have a fucking brother?
A half-brother from your father's affair. He's the one who did it. That Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves it wasn't you.
What is going on?
I know. All right, there's more. Listen, a man is about to ring the doorbell. He's gonna accuse you of murder, but he's actually just here for your father's pocket watch.
What?
His daughter has cancer, and the watch will pay for the treatment.
What?
He was close to your father, and when your dad died, it really hit him hard.
Yeah.
This is
Alright.
too much. And some cop guy is coming?
I think this is where I'm stuck.
We'll tell him the truth.
Nope. Back in there.
He'll listen, right? He has to. I mean, this whole...
Time to wait.
Now we wait.
I mean... Now that you know it, I mean, if you'll still have me, we
Hey,
can start fresh.
Bumblebee.
Clean slate.
What's up? What? What do you...
I've never
Honey,
been
think
able
you're
to say that out loud before.
what the...
So-
Frightened?
Thank you for listening.
Looking at the pictures.
Listen to what? Oh,
I don't know what
okay,
I'm
I'll
seeing
listen
in
to 'em,
here.
But honey... Yeah, don't worry, Bumblebee. I'll take care of this. I love you more.
Come on. Come in.
All right,
Is that
open
him?
up.
Okay. Let's talk.
Get on the ground,
Oh shit.
please.
Wait. Stop. I have something you need to see.
What
What'd
did
you say?
I didn't kill my father.
What?
He had a love child. Bastard. That's your killer.
You expect me to believe that?
I don't care what you believe. The bastard destroyed everything I loved. Destroyed my mother. She called him the monster, and he was.
Monster?
What?
Oh, it's just... That was the last thing I heard him say. It never occurred to me that it meant... that.
Listen. I know my father was important to you. I miss him too.
But I always thought you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
But then,
I don't know. But it wasn't me. Look, I know why you're doing this.
Wasn't
get it.
me.
you couldn't possibly.
You can't make us pay for what your daughter's going through. Don't take it out on us.
I'm sorry. Really, I am. God. If my daughter knew what I was doing, she wouldn't understand. She'd never forgive me. I'm going now.
Wait, just a second.
Here,
Alright.
take the watch.
Now we're getting ready.
You need it more than I do. She does.
I'll look for your brother. I'll start with the nanny, go from there.
How much do you remember about her?
It's been a long time.
Do you remember her name?
Something flowery. Daphne, Daisy. Something like that. I'll dig into it. I'll let you know when I know
Sir?
more.
Look at this.
Cute one, see? So, what?
The name. Look at the name. Is that the nanny that he had the affair with?
Oh, yes! Dahlia! That's it. Her name was Dahlia.
Why are you
No,
saying
no,
this?
no, no,
Is this some
no,
kind of
please, God.
joke? This is funny to you?
Yeah.
She was my
Mother.
No. No. No.
Now, I think this is the fun part.
Hey, come on, snap out of it. Look,
All right,
I
I'm supposed to
know
let this play
is a
out.
lot to drop on you, but I gotta know that we're on the same page concerning these feelings. So consider your answer to this question very carefully. What do you want with my daughter?
I can't just stop feeling for her. I love her. I love her with everything in me.
I don't care about your feelings. Feel however you feel. Feelings don't matter. What are you going to do? You.
So
You're
progress.
fucking radioactive, you know that? Just you existing killed my wife. Your mother, too. Now you want my fucking daughter. God, permission. Permission to date my daughter. The thought of you touching her, your grubby fucking hands. I'll break every bone in your body. Look. It's not on you, not all on you. I could have been more honest, but fuck, not this. None of us deserve this. But we gotta think about her, not ourselves. And you know what you gotta say. For her. Think about it. Say something. Say something. Piece of shit. You fucking idiot. You are so naive, so stupid.
So he brought out the gun.
Oh no.
So the dad brought out the gun on that. That's interesting.
Okay. No.
Okay.
You can't fucking me.
You're back in the apartment.
could I
Let this play
forget?
out as well.
Babe, are you...
No, you stay back.
Hey, it's me. It's me. It's okay. It's okay.
No, don't touch me.
Let me help. What is it?
Stay away.
Talk to me.
No.
Whoa. Tell me what's going on. Hey.
All right.
But it can't be true. It can't be true.
Hey there.
Do nothing in the first loop. Let everything play out. And
I
game
didn't hear
will
you come
end.
in. Best night ever. Guess who
The
made
wife
dessert?
will allude to
Let me know when you're in
past
the mood.
events,
Yeah, I will.
but that she wants to tell you something else. And you'll leave the apartment. I think I already did that. Yeah, I did
Hey,
do that.
there he is.
Go to the
Wanna sit for
bathroom,
a
get the
second?
pocket watch, and look at it.
How was your day?
Maybe it's better we aren't together.
Okay.
I'm glad you're home. I missed you. Babe?
Sorry.
Okay then. Good talk, babe.
Get in there. Close the door. Time to look at the watch. All right.
Hey, there he is. You back? Look, I know this is a terrible shock.
Maybe it's better that
but we need
aren't
to
together.
be on the same page. These feelings for my daughter, your sister. Look,
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I guess there is a world where I leave and where she doesn't get to know why.
there is, and I know it's hard. Thank you for understanding why it needs to be this way. This whole... I've made so many mistakes. But for what it's worth, I'm glad you turned out so well.
Aww. Alright, that's one ending. Let's go back to this guy. Do this. Really? You're already starting with you. Great. Alright, let's come back to this guy. Alright, so that's the second ending, right? I think that's the second time. I think. Continue. To get in a corridor, much like the one that the game started in, however, it'll be lacking any doors in the door inside. You'll find empty. However, the watch is still in the bathroom vent. Get it, click on the big hand and move it so it's at 2 minutes before 12. When the silver hand reaches it, you'll be taken back in time where you can choose the option to be with her, and she doesn't need to know. Ah.
It's locked.
No, it's not. It is not locked. Alright. Couldn't we move that? Right there. Alright. Okay. What are options that we have to do? The option to be with her, and she doesn't need to know.
Hey, there he is. You back? Look, I know this is a terrible shock, but we need to be on the same page. These feelings for my daughter, your sister. Look,
I don't care. I love her no matter what.
no matter what. No matter. Think about that.
She never needs to know.
She never needs to know. We can be happy.
You just want to play dumb. She's pregnant. You got your sister pregnant. We just can't ignore that.
We'll keep it. And she doesn't need to know.
No. No? We're not just gonna lie to her about this.
Why not? You lied about everything else.
Yeah, I have. But it stops here. You just won't listen. Stupid.
Sir? Are you... Sir?
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Wait, sir, no, no fucking stop!
That.
Hey there. I didn't hear you come in.
Oh, the
Best
painting.
night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Not getting anything.
Oh, I forgot to call the landlord about the light switch. Mind doing that tomorrow?
That's different too. Huh. Not getting anything. Is he all alone? He is. Let's see if there's a third flower. Is he gonna kick her out of the way?
Here's this.
Thanks, but I'm already on it.
Alright, time to water the plant.
Thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
Alright, what are we gonna do here? Look at the phone. Close the door. Call up Bumblebee. The
Why
wife
are
is
you in the
innocent.
closet?
Hello?
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
Say your wife is innocent. Say you're the killer.
My wife is
do this
innocent,
one.
but your dad, he won't listen to us.
I don't know what you want.
Hey, well, please, could you just call him and tell him to listen? He doesn't have the whole story.
Okay, fine. I'll call him. But lose my number.
Alright.
I'm stuck in a time loop, and I can prove it.
Right.
Look, how your father died. It's not what you think. I know how he really died.
What are you doing? It was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How could you know that?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
I did what?
Listen. He didn't die when you shot him.
What are you doing?
He survived. Your brother, the one you always called Monster. He killed him a week later.
I have a fucking brother?
A half-brother from your father's affair. He's the one who did it. That Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves it wasn't you.
What is going on?
I know. All right, there's more. Listen, a man is about to ring the doorbell. He's gonna accuse you of murder, but he's actually just here for your father's pocket watch.
What?
His daughter has cancer, and the watch will pay for the treatment.
What?
Alright.
He was close to your father, and when your dad died,
Definitely
it really
think I'm getting
hit him hard.
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
Alright. Say it's my fault.
I don't know how to say this. I've forgotten a lot of things that I'm just remembering now. Things that, if I could go back, I would have done differently.
What are you talking about?
Look, it was me. I'm the man that killed your father.
What kind of sick joke?
Look, his office is filled with books, all the way up to the ceiling. I never forgot how weird that looked.
What are you... No. I can't handle this. Why? After all this time.
It's all my
Say it's
fault.
my fault.
All of it. I should have told you.
Hey,
God, you're my
Bumblebee.
only family. I couldn't lose you.
What's
If
up?
I could go back, I'd fix this.
Go back? If you could go fucking back.
What do you...
Having your child.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Honey,
you're sorry? That makes it
you
better.
got prank called.
Jesus.
I will confess.
The cop I told you about. It's gonna be here soon.
He's come here before?
Yes. Look, I can't undo what I've done, but I can clear your name.
What?
I can confess.
Who are you?
Just let me try and fix this, please. I have
Oh,
ruined
okay, I'll listen to
everything.
him, but honey...
You deserve to have a life.
Yeah,
What is going
don't
on?
worry, Bumblebee.
Fine.
I'll take care of it.
We'll wait.
Love
Get the
you,
watch.
Maud. All right, let's open up.
Alright. Watch.
You think you're funny? Calling my family?
No.
What? What are you talking about?
No more games. Hands behind your back. Now.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I know you think I killed my father. Please, just listen to what my husband has to say.
Okay.
Do it!
You have anything you want to tell me?
Yes.
Okay, so listen.
So you didn't do anything. Ask about his daughter's illness, and then tell him that you killed the father. Now your wife is your sister. Ooh. In that order.
I'm innocent. I didn't do anything.
Excuse me?
I had nothing to do with this. I just found out.
Enough.
Wait, no! No! Please, no!
Oh, he's a fucking prick.
Well, what's the right answer for that? Which is a confession. Give the watch to your wife. Agree to wait for the cops. Confess about the murder to the cops. Okay. Let's try that. Do the plants need water? Yes.
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Yes, I need water.
Oh, I forgot to tell the man when we turn on the light switch. Am I doing that tomorrow?
Alright. Nope. Well, I guess that's...
There are things I need to tell you. Things that if I could go back, I would change.
Say you killed the father.
Look, it was me. I'm the man that killed your father.
What kind of sick joke?
Look, his office is filled with books, all the way up to the ceiling. I never forgot how weird that looked.
What are you? No, no.
You've been hiding this from me, lying to me all these years. You... How could you?
Say it was your fault and you regret it.
It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Baby, you were my only family and I couldn't lose you. If I could go back, I'd do better.
You're sorry. Jesus. You ruined. I wish I never met you.
Cops coming here to arrest you. You don't have to believe me, it doesn't really matter. Baby, I can't go back to the past, but I can confess now. I can clear your name. Just let me try and fix this, please. You deserve a real life.
You're disgusting. Fine. We wait.
Alright. Get the watch. Give the watch to her.
Hey.
We are not talking.
Well, this isn't looking like it's gonna work.
Can I just...
Not a goddamn word.
Okay. We wait.
Hello?
Hey, hey. Your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
I don't know which one I want to do.
My wife is innocent, but your dad, he won't listen to us.
I don't know what you want.
Hey, please, could you just call him and tell him to listen? He doesn't have the whole story.
Okay, fine. I'll call him. But lose my number.
Time to wait.
Hey.
That's it.
No.
I'm done. Do not try to find me. I am done.
Is that part of this? I don't know if that's part.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry?
Will you follow me to your apartment, please? I'm with the police.
Wait. No.
Make a noise. I'll break your arm. Back inside. Now.
Ah, this is not gonna work.
Thank you.
What's going on?
I have a warrant right here. This will go easier if you cooperate.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I know you think I killed my father, but please, if you...
Enough. You're under arrest.
Will you you have to listen to me.
No, I do not. Only people I have to listen to are my daughter and my mother's dead. Now shut up. That's enough. Hold still.
Alright, let's see if I can take him down.
Oh my... Get your hands off me!
Nope.
No!
Alright.
Again? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Phone. Dang it. She's there.
Hey there. I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
I wonder if there's something with this. Watch. I didn't hover over the right spot. That was gonna be the trigger. Fill it up. Wow, he moved. That was weird. Alright. Find your wife.
There are things I need to tell you, things that if I could go back, I would change.
Say you killed the father.
Look, it was me. I'm the man that killed your father.
What kind of sick joke?
Look, his office is filled with books, all the way up to the ceiling. I never forgot how weird that looked.
What are you? No.
You've been hiding this from me, lying to me all these years. How could you?
Say it's your fault and you regret it. It wasn't his fault.
It was me or him.
And you just forgot to mention it? You killed my dad and you hunted me down?
No, I didn't hunt you down.
You married me. I'm having your child. Is this some kind of fucking sick game?
No, it's not. I didn't mean to. This is never what I wanted. I just wanted to be with you. If I could do it over, I love you.
Don't you fucking dare, you fucking liar.
I am trying.
How do I get out of this? Nope. I think this is how I'm gonna do it. Yep. This is how I'm gonna do it. That's how I'm gonna do it.
Look, we've both been lying to each other.
Fuck you. My 8 years. I'm leaving. Don't be here when I come back.
Enough. Fucking enough.
Can't get to that door. And we're back.
And we're back. It's funny how he did that. Can I water that before she comes in? No.
I didn't hear you
cannot.
come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
One, two. Don't have the third one.
Oh, we gotta clean that closet.
Must be a fifth painting.
Oh.
There must be.
There are things I need to tell you, things that if I could go back, I would change. Look, it was me. I'm the man that killed your father.
What kind of sick joke?
Look, his office is filled with books, all the way up to the ceiling. I never forgot how weird that looked.
What are you? No.
You've been hiding this from me, lying to me all these years. How could you?
fault. I'm sorry. Baby, you were my only family and I couldn't lose you. If I could go back, I'd do better.
You're sorry. Jesus. You ruined. I wish I never met you.
I will say it was an accident. I'll confess.
Cops coming here to arrest you. You don't have to believe me, it doesn't really matter. Baby, I can't go back to the past, but I can confess now. I can clear your name. Just let me try and fix this, please. You deserve a real life.
You're disgusting. Fine. You wait.
Get that.
Hmm? Why am I not surprised?
Nope.
Hey.
We are not talking.
Okay. Guess we'll wait. Let's check one thing out. It's not playing. Come on, man. Alright. What do we have to do?
Police,
Let's
open
do
up.
this.
I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
What? Me?
Yes, you. Hands behind your back. Let's go.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I know you think I killed my father, but please,
Oh,
if
I
you
didn't call the
Enough.
daughter.
You're under arrest.
will you have to listen to me.
No, I do not. Only people I have to listen to are my daughter and my
Damn
mother,
it.
and my mother's dead. Now shut up. That's enough. Hold still.
Oh my! Get your hands off me! Oh my!
Don't move.
Help me! Will you come help me?
No. No.
My wrists.
Dang
I
it.
don't know. This is a mistake.
Get up.
Don't fucking move.
Babe,
Too bad.
will you tell him?
There you
This is
go.
a misunderstanding.
No, wait! Gotta stop fighting that guy.
Alright. Get the cell phone. Water the plants. Nope.
I
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who
2
made dessert?
flowers.
Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
But you better keep on watering them.
Guess who has 2 thumbs and remembered to pay the electric bill today?
Alright. Call her up. So I don't forget.
Hello?
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
Listen,
Let's pick that one.
I'm the one who killed the old man. It was me.
What are you talking about? This isn't funny. Lose my number.
Okay. That didn't go exactly as planned. So we're just gonna get out.
I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
And we're back.
Get that. Get that. Fill it up. Meet her halfway.
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Turn on the lights. Pour the water on the plants. So there has to be one over there. Call the daughter.
Hello?
Hey, your dad says that my wife murdered her father. Can you help? Please, he is gonna hurt her.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
My wife is innocent, but your dad,
I don't know what you want.
Hey, well, please, could you just call him and tell him to listen? He doesn't have the whole story.
Okay, fine. I'll call him. But lose my number.
I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
Alright. Get that.
There are things I need to tell you, things that if I could go back, I would change.
You killed the father.
Look, it was me. I'm the man that killed your father.
What kind of sick joke?
Look, his office is filled with books, all the way up to the ceiling. I never forgot how weird that looked.
What are you? No.
You've been hiding this from me, lying to me all these years. How could you?
It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Baby, you were my only family and I couldn't lose you. If I could go back, I'd do better.
You're sorry. Jesus. You ruined. I wish I never met you.
Confess
Cops
to the
coming
cops.
here to arrest you. You don't have to believe me, it doesn't really matter. Baby, I can't go back to the past, but I can confess now. I can clear your name. Just let me try and fix this, please. You deserve a real life.
You're disgusting. Fine. You wait.
Man, this is messed up. Alright, so let's see. I have 5 achievements left. I have 5 achievements left. Let's see if closed caption works for that. What? Closed caption is not working at all.
Hey, Bumblebee. What's up? What? What do you... Honey, I think you got prank calls. What did they threaten?
Yeah, closed caption is not working at all.
What? Oh, okay, I'll listen to him, but honey... Yeah, don't worry, Bumblebee. I'll take care of this. I love you more.
It should be different.
All right,
Let's do
open up.
this.
Alright,
You think you're
stand
fun?
closer.
Calling my family?
What? What are you talking about?
No more games. Hands behind your back. Now.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I know you think I killed my father. Please, just listen to what my husband has to say. What are you waiting
Okay.
for?
You have anything you want to tell me?
Okay, so listen.
Tell him you killed the
It
father.
was me. I'm the one that killed the old man.
What?
The last words he was saying before he died. Monster, monster. I'm the monster. That's what his wife, what her mother, called me when she found out that I existed.
Jesus. You killed your father and married your sister.
Hmm.
This is all on me. She didn't know. It's not her fault. I just told her, like, the truth a second ago.
I don't... we'll deal with that later. There's a watch. I want the watch. Do you have it?
Tell him about the watch.
Yeah. We'll give you the watch. We won't tell anybody. No one has to die. Here.
I'm going to leave now. Remember, if I found you once, I can find you
Okay.
again.
This
And
is the
you
ending.
Don't want to see me again.
What just happened? I need you to leave. Get out of here. Get the fuck out. You fucking monster. You hear me?
Fuck.
All right.
Fuck. I did everything right. What else do you want? I did everything right.
Hey there.
There's the bloop. Alright, refresh that. Alright. Oh, I got the paintings. Or the season paintings. Got that. Well, I should have got the...
Not now.
Okay. Rude.
paintings.
Oh, we gotta clean that closet.
Oh, 3 flowers. Got that one, right? Yes. All right. Fawn, I must have got before. Oberos.
Thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
And we're back.
I got the gardener one. So now I'm down to 3.
I didn't hear you come in.
Oberos.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
To get that, I might have to restart again. Mindfulness and continue.
Guess who has 2 thumbs and remembered to pay the electric bill today?
Okay, let's...
Thunder. I was not expecting a storm
Let's
tonight.
do this. So I think I'm close to getting everything for this. Alright. Let's bring you back to the father. Same conversation. This time don't select either dialogue option. Instead interact with the red book on the shelf behind you. Then, instead of choosing the new dialogue option, interact with the clock on the wall. Okay. Got it.
Hey, there he is.
Red book.
You back? Look, I know this is a terrible shock, but we need to be on the same page. These feelings for my daughter, your sister. Look,
Hey, it's only by forgetting that we ever really dropped the thread of time and approached the experience of living in the present moment.
You read that one, eh? I know the idea of forgetting things sounds crazy, but what if you could? I can help with that if you want. All you have is the future. You'll forget everything you went through. All the pain, all the stress, forgotten. Forever. But you need to understand, there is no turning back. You can't undo this. We can talk about it still. You can choose an answer. You don't have to forget if you don't want to. The choice is yours. This is your last choice. All right. I hope you find what you're looking for. All right. Close your eyes. I want you to think of a flower. Focus. Breathe. Look at its contours, its curves. Now I want you to imagine it changing. Moving backward, returning to its bud. Think of that bud, unopened and fresh and new. Look at it as a whole. Don't just notice the changes. Let go of how you saw this before.
This is crazy.
Don't let anything override the perception of how you see this today. Just focus on that bud. Then silently repeat these phrases. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from fear and anger.
What?
May
This
you
is the
know
third ending.
peace and joy.
Did this skip endings? So check Oberos. I don't know if this is the right ending. Although this is kind of crazy to see. Oh, might get flagged. 10. But it's going backwards. Where are you? That's not helpful. This is so not helpful. So maybe this is only the second time we've done this. Ah. Only have 2 left now. Come on. Really? I have to do this again.
There we go.
Thought I did that.
Hey, babe.
Oh, I'll be out in a second.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever.
What?
Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
It's like this reset. Wow, what the hell?
Hey, I finally remembered to put the spare key outside.
Well, let's get this.
Looks old and expensive. What's it doing in the vent? Who's hiding a watch here?
No.
expecting a storm tonight.
Okay, I got the achievement.
Yeah. Whew. Gotta get that fixed before one.
Well, now I'm here.
Oh, I forgot to call the landlord about the light switch. Am I doing that tomorrow?
What? Hey. Sir, hey, babe. What the fuck? What? Are you kidding me? What? What the hell just happened?
All right.
Hey there. I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Didn't you already say that?
What?
I don't know. What? But, no. I was just... How is this possible?
Hey, there he is. Want to sit for a second?
How was your day?
Okay.
I'm glad you're home. I missed you.
Yeah. Me too.
You know, I was thinking, what if there was room for something more in our lives?
Sure.
Sure?
What were you saying?
Are you even listening?
Sorry, I was somewhere else. What were you saying?
Nothing. Never mind.
Do you trust me?
Sure.
So what if, hypothetically, I had an affair?
Enough. Did you?
No, I didn't, but hypothetically. Would you want me to tell you?
What are you... Babe, I'm not really in the headspace for hypotheticals right now.
Uh-huh. Because you're so busy.
Seriously? Fine. I would prefer if you would not tell me.
Why?
It's in the past, so what's the point?
So lying would be better?
Will you just please fucking say what it is you're trying to say?
Wow, okay. You're fun to talk to right now.
Well, I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Look, my head right now, it's just full of noise.
Well, I won't add to it. I'm gonna go to the bedroom for a bit.
Babe.
Ow! Gotta get this fixed, babe. Someone's gonna get hurt.
Why did it... Egg. Let's... get this done.
All right, I'm ready to get wowed by this dessert.
Just give me 1 second. Hey,
Since you're using both mugs?
Want to go ahead and finish setting the table? Let me know when you're ready to eat.
Okay.
All right, table set.
Nice.
Great. Let's do it. Oh. Oh, it's our song. They had to play it.
Police, open up.
No.
I'll get it.
I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
What? Me?
Yes, you. Hands behind your back. Let's go. Hold still.
Hey, you're hurting me. What is
Now
going
you.
on?
Hands behind your back, please.
Help me.
Don't move.
Will you come help me?
No, come on, don't.
My wrists. I don't know. This is a mistake. Babe, will you tell him? This is a misunderstanding. Look, I don't know.
You're under arrest for your father's murder 8 years ago.
Can't open these
No,
with
no,
just
no,
my
no.
hands.
That can't be right.
Shut.
Look, I don't know.
Don't fucking move.
You don't have to handcuff me. We can talk this out.
Jesus Christ.
Still an egg.
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess?
Who made dessert? Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Thanks, that sounds great. In a sec.
Okay. Rude.
Talk to her.
Look, I know this sounds weird, but the day's repeating itself.
Uh-huh.
Like, I haven't figured out
Explain
how to
in more
work yet,
detail.
but for example, if I get beat up, I go back to the start of the evening.
What? What do you mean beat up? Who's beating you up?
He's big guy, look, it's not important. I'm not trying to stress you out. I'm just trying to give you an example.
Wow, great choice of example. I'm not stressed at all now.
I'll prove it.
Yeah, great. Let's see it. Wow me.
Let's see.
Well? I want to expand.
This present.
You went through my stuff? Boundaries? Personal space? We've talked about this? Did you open it?
No, look, it's still wrapped.
So you just took a present out of the drawer? Nice one.
Let's see. The radio. I can tell you what is gonna play.
Babe, they play the same stuff over, over, and over.
I know, but to know what's coming on right now?
There are 100 ways to know what's on the radio. What else you got?
Let's see.
Well?
The dessert. I know you made my favorite.
I know? I told you I did?
Oh, shit. Yeah, you did. Okay, something else. Let's see.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Leave.
Oh, fuck me. Are you serious?
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert?
Great. I'll let you know when I'm...
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Hey,
We're
I
getting
finally
closer.
remembered to put the spare key outside.
Okay, let's sit down.
Great. Just give me 1 second.
Ow! Gotta get this fixed, babe. Someone's gonna get hurt.
Put that there. Sit down.
Oh, wow. Thanks for setting everything up. Oh, thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
All right. So this is important.
So, when is a dessert not just a dessert? I have something to share.
Dessert and a present? When is this, my birthday?
Just open it.
Okay.
So?
Baby clothes? With my...
Yeah. I'm pregnant! We're having a baby!
What? Wow!
Yeah, wow. So? How are you feeling over there?
It's gonna be
Hey.
great.
It's gonna be great.
You think so?
You kidding me? You're incredible, and I'm, decent. The baby that we make is gonna be amazing. And it will be so loved.
Yeah. Damn straight. God, I love you. Hey, we're doing it. We're having a baby. Hey, I have an idea. Don't laugh at me, but do you want to dance with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
You lead. I'll follow.
How am I gonna tile this better? Why did that? Huh. Okay.
Are you coming? Come on. I got my dancing shoes on.
Lady,
Been a while, huh?
I cannot remember the last time we danced.
Police,
I'll
open
get
up.
it.
I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
What? Me?
Yes, you. Hands behind your back. Let's go.
Okay.
Hold
Now
still.
we're gonna electrocute him.
Hey!
Now you.
What is going
Hands
on?
behind your back, please.
Help
Don't
me!
move.
Will you come help me?
All right.
No.
easy.
Nope.
My wrists.
Still not doing this.
I don't know. This is a mistake.
Whoa! I didn't do anything.
Babe,
Sure.
will you tell him?
Shut up and don't
This is a
move.
misunderstanding.
I'll deal with you in a minute.
Look, I
Hey, listen.
don't know.
Why are you arresting us?
Don't have to
For
handcuff me
failing
when
to
you talk
shut
this
up
out.
when I told you to.
You're making a mistake.
Oops.
No! No!
Dude's done.
Please don't! Stop! Stop! Oh my god!
No, I forgot.
Somebody help!
Oh, fuck, that was brutal.
Hold on.
You're okay.
Do something real quick.
You're up.
Dang it. That one. Whatever. That one. Nope, nope. Alright. Now, are we ready? Do that tomorrow. Alright. Now, are we ready?
You're okay.
Hey there.
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
No more dessert. No more dessert. Pills.
These pills pack a fucking punch.
Put the mug over there.
Hey,
Go
I
in
finally
here.
remembered to put the spare key outside.
Yeah.
Go in there until she passes out. At least that's the plan.
Thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
Okay, that's still going. But I can't.
There isn't enough space to drop that.
You would think. Wait, she must have drank it already. Aren't you getting drowsy, lady?
We gotta clean that closet.
What you reading?
Oh, it's not really your thing.
Oh, try me.
You're gonna make fun of me. It's a book of meditations. Zen stuff.
Yeah, it's not my thing. Why a book on meditations?
I don't know. I've always been curious about it. My dad was always into that sort of thing.
My Zen wife, huh?
Look, there's a line. It is only by forgetting that we ever really drop the thread of time and approach the experience of living in the present moment. Babe.
Yeah, you're right. Not my thing.
Cool. Good talk, honey.
As you were. I'll just
So I
let
gotta
her
do
read
that
it.
4 times.
I'll just let her read it. And we're back. Yeah. Oof.
All right.
There.
Can I fill that up in time?
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
No. All right. Close the door. The pills. Dump it in there.
Oh, we gotta clean that closet.
She gave me an out.
Oh, thanks.
Not that I need that, but gonna pick it up anyways. And we wait. Actually, I'm gonna wait this way.
I'm so tired all of a sudden.
No, we wait.
Police, open up. Come on, I know you're home. Open the door.
Anyone home? Hello? Police! Come on out.
Is he gonna get scared?
What the?
He's just passed out.
Get the picture.
What? Oh, you little shit.
Listen,
I'm innocent.
I'm sorry that I cuffed you, but I'm innocent. I just found out about all of this. I don't have anything to do with it. All her fault. So, let me go. Please.
Listen, I get it. This is a lot. I can help you. Just work with me, and we can keep you out of this.
Okay.
Okay, I will do whatever you want.
Smart. I'm gonna get up slowly. Don't do anything stupid. Fuck.
Do I have my phone? Yes, I do.
You know where the watch is? All I'm here for.
I can get it.
All right, get it. Be smart now.
Get it.
All right, let's go.
Get in there, dude. Get in there.
Come on. Bring me the watch.
Here.
Good. Thank you. Listen carefully. I need a few minutes in the bedroom with her. Alone. Go sit on the couch and stay there until I come back. Try anything clever again and I'll kill you.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Nope. That's it.
I need a phone. Where's your phone?
Here.
Give him your phone.
Here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm going to dial 911. You're going to tell them you just got home and that your wife is dead. It looks like she committed suicide. She shot herself in the head. Don't go off topic. And don't talk about anything else. Clear?
Clear.
Yes. Crystal.
Emergency services.
My wife.
Sir?
She, shot herself.
Sending an ambulance right now. Is she still breathing?
I just got home
Nope.
from work and
Sir,
She's done.
I can talk you through emergency first aid.
no, she's dead.
All right. A unit will be there in 15 minutes. Stay where you are.
You fucked up your life, man. You're lucky. You get a second chance. Do better next time.
No. I let her. All for nothing. It's locked from the other side.
I'll be out in a second.
Turn on the light.
Hey there.
Still an egg.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever.
What
Guess
are
who
the
made
3
dessert?
phases for that?
Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, we gotta clean that closet.
No, it's not it.
Thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
What if... Oh, talk about the book.
What you reading?
Oh, it's not really your thing.
Huh? It is only by forgetting that we ever really drop the thread of time and approach the experiences of living in the present moment.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, I'm a pretty mindful dude.
You never cease to amaze me.
I'll just let her read it.
Okay, I'm gonna hide in the closet this
And we're
time.
back. Now, we wait.
Police, open up. I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
What? Me?
Yes, you. Hands behind your back. Let's go. Hold still.
You're hurting me. I don't know what you... This is a mistake.
Uh-huh.
I don't... You must be... Look... I don't know. You don't have to handcuff me. We can talk about this.
We will.
I don't know who you are.
Come on.
I am not who you're looking for. This...
Anyone else?
It's a mistake.
Come on out.
Please. Please don't hurt me.
Anyone else here? Husband, boyfriend, girlfriend?
My husband. He's at work. He'll be here any second.
All right. Just us then. 8 years ago. Your father? A gun?
Father?
Ring any bells?
Why are you asking? Father?
Come on, skip this part.
Please. I swear. Oh!
You're gonna give me his watch. Only question is how much you make me hurt you before you do.
I don't know about anyone.
Keep lying? See how creative I can get.
I
Help!
think this is a good story.
Help!
Be honest with yourself. You knew this would happen. There's no cavalry coming. Nobody's gonna save you. If you want to live, tell me where the watch is. This is your very last chance.
It's in the vent in the bathroom, under the medicine cabinet.
Good girl.
It's there. I gave you what you wanted, and I won't tell anyone. I swear.
You find it?
I did.
Okay, now will you let me go? What are you?
Easy now. Deep breath in.
No, no!
Wow. It's really flowing. Let's see. If I call that in and say she committed suicide.
Emergency services.
Tell them your wife has been killed.
My wife?
Yes.
Somebody broke into our apartment and she's not moving.
A unit is on its way. Should be there in 15 minutes.
Can they get
Too
here
late.
any sooner?
They'll get there as soon as possible. Get to a safe place.
Too late. I like how he's dragging his feet through that. Alright, all this is all done.
Not now. Ow! Fucking hell, that hurt.
Still an egg. Okay.
I didn't
Talk
hear
about
you
the day
come in.
before.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will. I'm living the same evening over and over.
Been there.
Look, I haven't figured out how it all works yet, but, like, if I get electrocuted and die, I go back to the start of the evening.
What are you? Electrocuted and die?
Yeah, by the bedroom light switch.
Getting electrocuted, but man, really gotta fix that light switch.
I know. Trust me, I know. I'll prove it.
Yeah, great. Let's see it. Wow me.
Let's see.
If you can prove it, I mean, it'd be kind of cool.
This present. Look, it's clearly unopened. But I know there were baby clothes inside.
I just bought them today. How could you know? You're kind of freaking me out.
But do you believe me now?
I mean, I'm getting there, I guess.
All right, let me try and prove something else. Let's see.
The watch.
I want to expand my paradigm.
No. Stop.
If you can prove it, I mean, it'd be kind of cool.
You've hidden a watch in the vent under the medicine cabinet.
What?
And there's more. You get accused of killing your father.
What? What are you even saying?
I need you to tell me the truth.
Where is this coming from?
I told you, I've already lived this. I'm living the same moment over and over and over.
I don't even know where to start. My dad wasn't always the man he wanted to be. After I was born, my mom was really focused on me, and I guess my dad felt... It doesn't matter. He started sleeping with my nanny. It was the start of my mom's spiral. Nothing was the same after she died. I blamed him. I mean, it was sort of his fault. And I poked
Sort
at
of?
him a lot. We fought. Nobody can hurt you.
That wouldn't
but the
be
ones you love,
considered
right?
sort of.
Oh, anyway, God.
Hey, I know that this is hard, but please, I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Christmas Eve, he had caught me trying to sneak out, and I was so mad. I just poked at him and prodded at him, and he hit me.
He hit me.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I saw red, of course, and he always had guns around. I grabbed one, and I shot him, and I just ran. Made it here on New Year's Eve. That Polaroid on the fridge was actually taken an hour after I got here. I was gonna turn myself in, but it was a new year. A few weeks later, you showed up, and well, and things were almost good before it all ended today. I killed my father. Never thought I'd say that out loud. And now you know. Please, talk to me.
So then... And in the next few minutes, the cop is gonna be at the door.
He's how you found out about my dad?
Yes. Trust me, just don't...
Police, open up.
What now? It is...
So then... How'd you get the watch?
fucking watch. It was my mom's. My grandfather actually made
Come
it.
on, I know you're home.
It was
Open
gonna
the
pass
door.
down to me.
You took it though.
Well, I guess it did,
We already
didn't it?
know.
Hey,
Wait,
I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
what? Me?
Yes, you. Hands behind your back. Let's go. Hold still.
Let's do that.
All right, let's get this over with. Oh my.
Now you. Hands behind your back, please.
Help me.
Don't move.
Please come help me. My wrists.
Come on.
This is a mistake. Babe, will you tell him?
Get over
This is a misunderstanding.
Don't fucking move.
Look, I don't know. You don't have to handcuff me. We can work this out.
You're under arrest for your father's murder. I
making a
fucking
mistake.
warned you.
You can't do this.
fuck! Fuck! What? Okay.
Still an egg.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night
At least
ever.
getting through this
Guess who
faster.
made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will. I'm living the same evening over and over.
Been there.
Look, I know how your father died. How he really died.
I don't know what you think, but you better.
It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out. He hit you.
How could you?
I couldn't, right? You told me in a previous loop.
What?
Look, I'm on your side.
On my side? Oh God. Look, I didn't know how to tell you. Please, talk to me.
So, then... You've been lying to me all this time?
Yeah. What else could I do? If you found out who I really was. I just didn't want to lose you, that's all. But here we are. God damn it.
Hey.
God fucking damn.
I don't
Forgive
care.
her.
It doesn't matter. I forgave everything, all of it. All that matters is that we have each other. That's it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? But you won't forget this. Neither of us will. Things like this just don't get forgiven.
No.
And in the next few minutes, the cop is going to be at the door.
He's how you found out about my dad?
Yes. I need to think about this.
Just... I wanted to tell you... I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter, but I am. Will you just say something? Anything?
The picture.
I can't take this silence.
Look, the picture of you.
Yeah, New Year's. Right after everything. I don't even recognize myself anymore. I fucking knew it.
Hon? And we're back.
Okay, gonna have to do the sleeping pill thing.
Oh. I'll be out in a second.
Egg.
Hey, that you?
You sure snuck in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Hey, I finally remembered to put the spare key outside.
Get that. Get the sleeping pills. Put that over there for her.
Oh, thanks.
Skip this.
I'm so tired all of a sudden.
No, we wait.
Oh, did I get the... I didn't get the picture, and I didn't get the watch.
Police, open up.
Did I? I did not. I did not.
Come on, I know you're home. Open the door.
Anyone home? Hello? Police. Come on out. What the? Oh!
Time to go. Take everything. Oh, don't do anything. Time up first. Shoot his leg.
Oh, what the fuck? I'm bleeding. What do you want? Oh, fuck. I'm bleeding.
Stop crying. Listen up.
So you're innocent.
Hey, I'm sorry I hurt you, but I'm innocent. I just found out about all this. I don't have anything to do with it. It's all her fault, so please, leave me out of this.
You should have thought about that before you fucking tortured me. Let me go. Right now.
Give me more dialogue
Yeah,
options.
okay. Listen up. What do you know about the nanny? Who? The nanny the old man had the affair with. What do you know about her?
What do you care about the nanny? It was years ago.
What are we being accused of exactly?
You really have no idea, do you? 8 years ago, she murdered her father in cold blood.
Why would she possibly do something like that?
Money, jealousy, a million reasons. You should ask her.
What makes you think she did it?
Of course she did it. Same gun, same room. It's obvious.
How did her father die?
Her. She shot him. Christmas Eve 8 years ago. Didn't kill him, though. Then on New Year's Eve, she came back and finished the job. 2 shots, close range, heartless.
Wait, what? No, that's not true. She told me she ran away on Christmas Eve. But by New Year's... On New Year's, she was here. She was hundreds of miles away when he was killed.
She was. Prove it. She's a murderer. Murderers lie. You don't have proof.
Show the picture.
Look at this picture.
What about it?
Look at the date.
December 31st. That's the day she murdered him.
No. That is the day he was murdered, but she was hundreds of miles away.
I don't understand.
No shit, it wasn't her. She didn't kill him. So, who could have killed her father?
I don't know. Everything points to her. Think you got an artery?
Stop crying, listen up. So, who could have killed her father?
I don't know. Everything points to her.
Okay. Shh, listen up. Why do you want the watch?
Shit.
No,
I need
don't.
a doctor.
Don't die.
Yeah, I'll say. And I'm gonna hurt you again if you make me. The watch, come on.
Fuck. Fucking watch. You have any idea what that thing is worth?
Money? That's what this is about? You'd murder us for money?
You really don't know.
No.
Your wife, her father, closest thing to family I ever had.
You knew him?
Knew him. He taught me everything I know. He was good to me when no one else was, and that monster murdered him.
You knew her father, right?
Yeah. He was good to me. Taught me a lot. I owe him this. Now, will you please untie me? I won't tell anyone. Please. I need... I'm gonna die.
Ah.
What? Wait, but... Oh, god damn it. God damn it. God damn it.
Do I have her number now? No. Gotta do that again then.
Hey there. I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Egg.
Guess who has 2 thumbs and remember to pay the electric bill today?
You know, wise man once say, it's only by forgetting that we ever really drop the thread of time and approach the experience of living in the present moment.
Ow.
Never doubt my reading skills again.
Yeah, okay. I won't.
I'll just let her read it. I'm living the same evening over and over.
Been there.
Look, I know how your father died. How he really died.
I don't know what you think, but you better.
It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out. He hit you.
How could you?
I couldn't, right? You told me in a previous loop.
What?
Look, I'm on your side.
On my side? Oh God, look. I couldn't. I didn't know how to tell you. Please, talk to me.
So then... You didn't kill him.
What?
When you shot him, he survived.
No, that can't be. I saw him. He was bleeding.
Babe, he didn't die. He was gonna recover. And somebody else came in and killed him on New Year's.
Somebody else?
But it wasn't you. You weren't there. The Polaroid on the fridge, that proves it.
All this time. I need to sit down. This is too much.
And in the next few minutes, the cop is gonna be at the door.
He's how you found out about my dad?
Yes. The cop says that he was close to your dad. When he died, this is personal.
Yeah, well, same.
What's so special about that watch?
Oh, it was a family heirloom. My great-grandfather made it. It's worth, I don't know, a whole lot.
It was
Whole
gonna
lot.
pass down to me from my mom. After I shot my dad, I wasn't thinking. It was there and I just grabbed it. It's the only thing I have from my old life.
Your nanny. What do you remember about her?
My nanny? I was like 2 years old when she left. I never even knew her name.
See how fast I can get
Father's
through
affair.
this.
God, I hate talking about this. I don't know. My dad loved my mom. But I guess having me made things tough on the marriage. And my nanny was right there. He wasn't always as good a man as he wanted to be.
How'd your mom find out about the affair?
Dad knocked up the nanny and she wanted to keep it, so tough to keep that secret. There were complications. Poor woman died in childbirth. My dad, God, he wanted to adopt the kid, but he could not do that to my mom.
What did your mom say?
Nothing. She just got sick. She hated him so much by the end.
What did he do?
Nothing. He didn't do fucking anything. Denied it until the day she died.
What do you know about your nanny's child? Your brother, I guess?
I honestly wasn't even sure he existed. I think I overheard stuff about my dad wanting to adopt him, but no way my mom would have it. She hated the idea of that kid so much.
Do you know where your brother is now?
I have no idea. Sometimes I wonder if he was even real. My mom was so out of it. And I mean, if this kid did exist, I'm sure my dad would have tried to find him after my mom died.
So,
Police.
Is that
open
him?
up.
Talk to her.
who could have killed him?
I mean, with his work, he had a lot of enemies. It's not like he was always the easiest guy to deal with. I mean, I don't know.
Come on, I know you're
I
home.
never
Open
even
the door.
imagined the possibility that...
But you... Why'd you lie to me?
I'm with the police. Turn around, please.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
Oh.
And we're back. He won't listen to us. How do I make him listen? Who would he listen to?
His daughter.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever.
Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
I still don't have her number.
You know, wise man once say, it's only by forgetting that we ever really drop the thread of time and approach the experience of living in the present moment.
Ow.
Never doubt my reading skills again.
Yeah, okay. I won't.
Let's see. Nope. Not that. See if that changes.
I'll just let her read it. I know about the pocket watch. It's in the vent underneath the medicine cabinet.
What?
A man told me you killed your father.
A man told you. What the fuck?
I don't even know how to say this, but look, I'm living the same few minutes over and over and over.
What?
Look, how your father died, it was not what you think. I know how he really died.
What are you? It was a hard.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How? How could you?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
What?
But he didn't die when you shot him.
Where are you?
He survived. Somebody else killed him after you ran away. That old Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves you weren't there at the time.
This is a lot.
I know. Okay, you ready? There's more. A man is about to ring the doorbell and accuse you of murder.
What?
He was close to your father, and when your dad died, it really messed him up.
Okay. I'll be ready.
But why'd you lie to me all this time?
I mean, how was I gonna tell you? Hi, nice to meet you. By the way, I killed my father. I didn't want to get close to anyone, but you were so persistent. I guess I just wanted to believe.
Really?
So, who could have killed him?
I mean, with his work, he had a lot of enemies. It's not like he was always the easiest guy to deal with. I mean, I don't know. I never even imagined the possibility that.
Trust me, just don't open the door.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, we
Wait for him to arrive. Alright. Alright, got through all of that now.
Is that him?
It is. Now we gotta electrocute him. Get to his phone.
Is that him? What do we do? Do we open the door? We need to
Come
tell him
on,
the
I
truth.
know you're home. Open
Okay.
the police. I have a warrant for your
shit.
arrest.
Wait,
going on?
wait,
On the
please.
ground. Now.
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I didn't kill anyone. Look, I can.
No excuses.
You have to listen to me.
No, I do not. Only people I have to listen to are my daughter and my mother. And my mother's dead. Now shut up. That's enough. Hold still.
Alright. Now we gotta electrocute him.
And we're back.
Now we have to electrocute him.
I didn't hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Still an egg.
Oh, I forgot to call the landlord about the light switch.
She's looking for her glass. Alright.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, I don't have to... do anything. anything with him other than take his stuff.
So tired all of a sudden. Oh, just gonna lie down for a sec. We'll talk later.
Take the phone. Go 193 515. Wait, that wasn't 415.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try again.
But that was correct. Take the picture. I don't need the picture for this. Definitely don't need the picture for that.
Now we wait.
Just need to wait it out.
Police, open up. Come on, I know you're home. Open the door. Anyone home? Hello? Police. Come on out.
Let me check something really quick. What's that? Nope, that doesn't work. Nope.
Police. I have
No.
a warrant for your arrest.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I know.
Congratulations. On the ground, arms behind you. Don't move.
Hey, look, it's
Damn it.
okay, it's okay. I'm not resisting.
Oh, I don't have the knife.
What the?
Okay, hurry up and get him.
He's just passed out.
Jesus.
No.
All right, asshole. I warned you.
Dang it.
Sure.
God.
Fuck that guy.
got that
I didn't
far.
hear you come in. Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
Got that far. Oh. Drop it like it's hot.
Oh, thanks.
Get the phone. Nope. Oh,
So
picture.
tired all of a sudden. Oh,
Although I
just
don't
gonna
really
lie
need the
down for a
picture for
second.
this
We'll talk later.
this route. Door. Okay.
Now we wait.
Police, open up.
Come on.
Come on, I know you're home. Open the door.
Anyone home?
So we need to get this phone. That's what we're after.
Hello? Police, come on out.
That's what we're after.
What the?
Close the door. Take that too. All right, now the phone.
What? Oh, you little shit. Just made the biggest mistake of your life. One chance. Let me go
Dad,
right now.
The movie's about to start. I'll call you back later. I told you to call me earlier.
I was gonna leave
Love
you
you.
out of this. And now you've got this coming.
Oh. I didn't think he could get up. If I shot him in the leg. That's what I should have done. Do I have her phone number now? Ooh.
Hey there.
Thank Thank you for calling Blue Care First. This call may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. All representatives are currently assisting other customers. Please stay on the line, and the next available representative will assist you. All representatives are currently assisting other customers.
This
Please
sounds
stay on the
normal.
line, and the next available representative will assist you.
This definitely sounds normal.
All representatives are currently assisting other customers. Please stay on the line, and the next available representative will assist you.
Thunder. I wasn't expecting a storm tonight.
All representative, please stay on the line, and the next available.
Let's hang up.
I didn't hear you come in.
Not now.
Okay.
Egg.
Thank you for calling Blue Care First. This call may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. All representatives are currently assisting other customers. Please stay on the line, and the next available representative will.
Hang up.
I know about the pocket watch. It's in the vent underneath the medicine cabinet.
What?
A man told me you killed your father.
A man told you. What the fuck?
I don't even know how to say this, but look, I'm living the same few minutes over and over and over.
What?
Look, how your father died, it was not what you think. I know how he really died.
What are you? It was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't. It was Christmas Eve. He caught you sneaking out, and he hit you.
How? How could you?
I couldn't. You told me in a previous loop.
What?
But he didn't die when you shot him.
What are you?
He survived. Somebody else killed him after you ran away. That old Polaroid from the coffee shop, it proves you weren't there at the time.
This is a lot.
I know. Okay, you ready? There's more. A man is about to ring the doorbell and accuse you of murder.
What?
He was close to your father, and when your dad died, it really messed him up.
All right.
Okay.
This next time I'm
I'll be
gonna
ready.
call Bumblebee first. Or I'm gonna call her now.
This is too much.
Hello?
Hey, I got your number from your dad.
What?
Your dad says that my wife killed her father.
Whatever it
He's
is
coming
you're
to hurt
doing,
her.
This isn't funny,
I
you
trust you.
creep.
Listen,
Okay,
my wife is
we'll
innocent, but
tell
your
him
daddy,
the
he won't
truth.
listen to us.
I don't know what you're talking.
He doesn't have the whole story.
listen,
Please, could you just tell him to listen to
He
us?
has to.
No, why would...
Please, he's making a big mistake. You can help him.
I mean,
My whole
fine. Okay.
8 years.
I'll call
I
him.
thought he was
Hey,
dead.
Bumblebee.
If I had known.
What's up?
That was in time.
Sorry, this is just. Jesus.
Honey. I think you got prank called. What the... Did they
So
threaten
then, who killed him?
you? Listen to us.
If I'd known he was alive, I could have done something.
Oh,
I
okay.
could have
I'll listen
stopped
to
it.
him, but honey,
I guess. I mean,
yeah, don't worry.
good
Bumblebee.
news?
I'll take care of it.
That's it. That's the secret.
Love you more.
That's the skeleton. And now that you know it, I mean, if you'll still have me, you can start fresh.
All right,
Is that
open up.
him?
Yes, it is him.
Is that him?
Yes.
What do we do? Do we open
Yes,
the
it
door?
is.
Come on.
We need to tell
You
him
want
the
to talk?
truth.
Let's talk.
Okay, we'll tell him the truth.
You think you're funny? Calling my family?
What? What are you talking about?
No more games. Hands behind your back. Now!
Wait, stop. I have something you need to see.
What did you say?
I didn't kill my father. I have proof. There's a picture of me the day he died. I was hundreds of miles away.
Show me.
On the fridge. Please, look.
Don't move. I'll be damned.
Listen, I know my father was important to you. I miss him too.
But I always thought you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
But then,
I don't know. But it wasn't me.
I'm sorry. I really am. My daughter, she's all I care about. She's dying. Cancer. And the insurance won't. I can't pay for the treatment. That watch, though, it could cover it all. God, if she knew I was doing this, thank you for not... If you told her what I was really here for, she'd never talk to me again. I'm going now.
Wait, just a second.
Think of the onesie during this time.
Here, take the watch. You need it more than I do. She does.
I'm pretty good at finding people, obviously. I'll find out who killed your father.
Thank you.
Actually, there's one thing that might help.
What?
When I found him, he lost a lot of blood. I tried to stop the bleeding, but... Anyway, he was saying something.
What was he saying?
Just the word monster. Over and over. I always wondered what it meant.
It's my brother. Oh my God.
You have a brother.
My mom was right. She was right all along. When my father and my nanny were having their affair, there was a baby. A boy.
A baby. I knew about the affair, but he never mentioned a child.
My mother hated him for it. Hated the kid too. Always yelling at my dad about the monster. That's him.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. But I'll find him. For you and for him.
Thank you. Wow. So what happens now? Is it over?
I think
No.
it is. Yeah. Now we can go find your brother and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. I never thought I'd be able to tell anyone what happened. I thought I'd have to hold that forever. But you listened. And you're still here.
I told you. I'm not going anywhere.
Man, I really, really love you.
Really?
That's weird.
Really? I really love you. You too.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Alright. Checking the painting. It's still an egg.
I didn't hear you come in.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.